Hello, everybody. I am going live right now because there are just a few things that I wanted to talk about. First, what I wanted to do is say thank you to everyone who has been here for me during this time. Um, it's been a really hard time because I lost my father on June 3rd. It was very just unexpected. He had been living with congestive heart failure, but, with a pacemaker, an internal defibrillator, he had always been, just this really active person. And, starting in May, he was admitted to the hospital. And it just, from there, not only was I not really getting enough information from the hospitals, but his condition started deteriorating. So he was having pains, he could barely walk, and in the weeks of May, he just took a turn for the worse. And he essentially ended up being released from the hospital on like May 20th. And that same day, my sister dealt with some issues with the father of her children, and so we were definitely as a family trying to be there for each other because he was threatening violence, and he was, saying that he was going to, hurt himself and then hurt her, harm her house or something somehow. So that same day my dad was released, he also had a stroke. And kudos to the Harper Woods Fire Department for coming so quickly to, and the paramedics and EMTs got him to the hospital. And so it turns out he had a massive stroke. And as the weeks went on, his condition just got worse. And then finally, we talked with palliative care, and they told us that he had a very aggressive form of cancer. So it was a stroke and cancer, and he was paralyzed. And so at that point, he was still talking. So we were trying to see him, but with COVID restrictions, we really couldn't be there to see him. And so it was just, a lot to really deal with and process. And then, as time went on, we just wanted to hear more, and he was not getting any better, and he was placed on a ventilator or respirator. And then, they were just, the hospital was just saying that it's not looking good, there's not a lot of brain function. And he essentially, they said that this is it. So, you know um he he passed away that first week of June. And he was just always this person who was always there for us as a family and just as a person of honor and integrity. And so when that happened, we were just prepared for, I didn't know anything about setting up a funeral, or I wanted to make sure that I did all this stuff for my mom because he really took care of her. And honestly, in a few weeks, they would have been married 40 years. And so she didn't have to lift her fingers. And so I wanted to make sure that I'm taking care of her. And my nephew wasn't dealing with this well. He has autism, so he really couldn't understand and process what it meant to lose Hey Man. That's what he called him. My dad always said Hey Man to William, and William would just reciprocate by calling him Hey Man. So as that happened, we were just all in the same household, even though we all live in different places. Um, and we got a call from one of my sister's neighbors in Indian Village saying that her house was on fire. And so she rushed off thinking that maybe it would just be something that she can grab an extinguisher for. And this blaze could be seen from Mac. If any of you are familiar with Indian Village, you could see it from Mac coming off the freeway. and so she has essentially lost everything. And so, this has just been so many tragedies, like one after another. So she lost her house, and I know if any of you know Gloria, she quit her job as an accountant to become a certified builder to put 10 years worth of work into this historical home. And she is my hero. She is a Air Force veteran, and she served in the Air Force, and she's tough as nails, and she came out and she pretty much rebuilt that house from the ground up. And for her to lose it, and to lose it from this person who he so her significant other was the one who started the fire, and he had been threatening to burn down this house. And it's just, I really didn't want to bring all of this kind of publicity or anything out into the open, but something today really, really made me mad, because not only am I grieving all of these things and trying to be strong, because I have to be for my family, but somebody who I've considered to be a mentor, and just someone who has brought a voice of change into the city of Harper Woods. you know he served as a naval reservist, and has been either the deputy city manager of the city of Harper Woods um, since at least 2017, and now city manager. He was fired today by my colleagues, and this is the way that we as a city repay somebody who has served. By first day back to work, you you're fired. You're fired. And so to not only have this person who I considered a colleague, a mentor, and a friend also be done so wrongly, I couldn't stand for it. So I had to tell the story of all of these tragedies, because I have every reason to not want to continue in local politics or not to run for mayor, but I really have to be this person, because this is a person my dad raised me to be. I have to be this person who continues to fight. And I know that he worked really hard to move us to a nice community like Harper Woods, and sacrificed because he was always working. And I grew up here. I went to school here. I got educated here. And, it's like I have every reason not to want to run and to take a break, and to just be there for the family, and to be there as we heal and as we grieve. And as my sister grieves the loss of her home she worked so hard on. But I have to fight for this city, because it is it is more than just political. It is right and wrong. It is the right thing to do. And it is what we need to stand up for and fight. And I'm ready to fight. I have to keep fighting, because pressure creates diamonds. And we have to share our stories, and we have to talk about how this, during such a hard time, during such just tragedy after tragedy, we have to be there for each other. And I just have to say that this overwhelming support that I have had from not only the people here in Harper Woods, but from people all over who have expressed their sympathy, or sent flowers or cards, or just been there for me and for my family, and checked on us, cooked dinners, and just, I really think that I have to keep fighting for all of you. I have to keep fighting, because this is who my dad raised me to be. And so I just kind of wanted to share that. And so also, for anybody who wants to like help my sister, I'm going to share some information about how you can help her right here with a GoFundMe in the link in the description below. But I am fighting for just better health care for African American people, because it just didn't make sense that I wasn't hearing anything. None of us were hearing anything about how my dad was doing, and for him to have had an aggressive cancer, and then we didn't find out until the very end. There's a problem with healthcare. There's a problem with our justice system. There's a problem when someone who's victim to, someone who's lashing out domestically isn't really being heard. And then it takes something like, him lashing out on a family member, and being aggressive and violent, or him burning down a house to actually have somebody be heard. I'm really willing to advocate for mental health and for the justice that we really need. And I'm really, really willing to fight for people, especially people who serve. Because everything that happened tonight with my council colleagues giving absolutely no reason why our city manager, his contract was just terminated on day one of returning back from a year of service. A year of service that, initially it was going to be a couple of weeks, and then it turned into a couple of months. But this is something that none of us saw this pandemic coming last year. And, for this to happen, it is truly, truly just disrespectful. So I just had to get those things off of my chest and be a little open and vulnerable. And I truly want to thank everybody who has been here, for my family during this time. And, on this Flag Day, I want to thank people for their service. And service is really important to me. I would have been following right there with Gloria into service if I hadn't failed that Air Force officer qualifying test. But I just kind of want to thank you all for your overwhelming support. And please share this story, so that we can, continue to help Gloria rebuild and to fight against people who are doing the right thing and who have served, and make sure that they're not just being disrespected when they come back to a job that, according to USERA law, is rightfully should be given back to them. And then also to just advocate for better health care and better treatment for folks who are hospitalized. And I think I said this when my dad was first in the hospital: make sure you're advocating for people who your loved ones were in the hospital, because during COVID times with restrictions, I understand that people are working hard, and there are so many things that are continuing to happen even as the numbers go down in terms of the coronavirus and how deadly it can be. But we really have to be able to really push for the healthcare system to advocate for our loved ones who are hospitalized. So I wanted to share that. And for those of you who have expressed interest in attending the funeral services for my father, Samuel Mayweather will be laid to rest, and his funeral services will be on Thursday. Um, and then on Wednesday, there will be visitation from 4 to 7 at QA Cantrell Funeral Home in Eastwood on Kelly Road. I'll link more information about that. And thank you so much for all of the prayers and sympathy. And I've got folks here who have said they're praying for my strength and our family, and for may my dad rest in eternal peace. So thank you.